And you have to be careful here because Osterwalder defined this only as when you get a customer, how do you keep them happy, keep them coming back? Steve Blank and I looked at that as we were adapting the canvas to customer development. We said, that's ridiculous. How are you going to keep a customer happy if you don't get him in the first place or her? And so we redefined customer relationships as how do companies get their customers. Once they get them, how do they keep them? And if they can keep them, how do they grow them? So getting them sort of obvious, advertising, viral marketing, promotion, events, and so on. Again, we'll talk more about it later. Once you get them, you got to give them a really good product, good service, upgrades, good support, good value, and you've got to keep up with competitors who may be trying to steal your customers, right? So maybe you need a loyalty program or a points program or a free upgrade or an inexpensive upgrade program to keep those customers as long as you possibly can. Once you are keeping enough customers to feel like you have a business, then it's time to start testing ways to grow those customers two very different ways. First, sell them more. Sell them more of the stuff they already... We turn the mic down a little. I think we're cleaning the wax out of people's ears. Right? So first, right, you sell them more of the product you already sold them. Then you sell them other products. You sell them more often. And then you, even more important, use them to sell your products to others. Referral programs, viral marketing programs to use your happy, satisfied, hopefully very excited customers. Could somebody wake up the sound technician and ask him to turn the volume down a little bit? Olga? Anybody? Young lady in red in the back? Could you ask this? Thank you, sir. I want to keep you awake, but not with hostile technology, right? So how do you use them to virally market your business? Because the odds are overwhelming that as a startup, you don't have enough money to market almost any other way. You certainly don't have money for newspaper or radio or television advertising. You probably don't have enough money to get enough customers fast enough with Yandex and Google and things like that. So when you've finished your canvas, you have to remember one thing. It's not facts. It's still guesses, right? When we teach this at universities, we call them hypotheses because you spend a lot of money to attend the university. At the very least, you should learn some big words. But really, what it is guesses, your best guesses about what makes this business a business. And very importantly, it's not by any means just the product. The product is one piece of it. It's much harder to do here in Kazan, here in the region, for a lot of reasons, right? First of all, web penetration is much lower here. Percentage of web users is lower, right? Use of credit cards online is much lower than it is in the States. The ability to attract financial investment is much, much harder, not just here, but in Moscow, where it's probably 2% easier. It's hard in most places of the world. The only exception really is Silicon Valley, where startups have generated so much wealth for so many investors that they're willing to try the next crazy idea, and so on and so forth. Okay? Digital marketing talent is much harder to find here than it is in the United States and almost anywhere other than maybe US, London, Tel Aviv, right? Getting those customers at a free cost or a zero cost. And oh yeah, then there's this other thing called the economy, right? It's been a little tough lately, and right, if the Russian ruble, whatever, you were charging in Russian rubles for your product just a few months ago, basically the price went up by 50%, or your profits and income went down by about a third, in the sort of foreign exchange tables. So it's tougher. So What do you do differently? First, you spend more time, not less time, getting your product ready to go. So, because getting your product ready to go is a lot cheaper than launching your product. You're sweating, you're working hard, you're not spending money on advertising, you're not spending money on staff, salespeople, marketing people, things like that. And you just torture yourself to torture your idea to make it better and better. So in a way, what you do is you both go slower and go faster at the same time. You're more thoughtful, you're more careful, you check your hypotheses or your guesses more ambitiously, more thoroughly, to make sure that when you're ready to spend what little money you can get your hands on in most cases, you spend it wisely in things you've already tested along the way. And you go faster by working harder at it, by working nights and weekends to get to the answer thoroughly, but to get there as quickly as you can to make sure that when you're ready to go, it's as soon as possible, but also you're going in the right direction. You also strive to raise as little money as you possibly can. When I started my first business, I knew nobody was going to invest in some crazy 22-year-old with curly hair who didn't have much academic achievement in college because I was too busy starting businesses and working, and who was stupid enough to quit a high-paying job to start a business in a recession. So I didn't even bother talking to investors. I emptied out my savings account. I ran up my credit cards. I did some work at night here and there. Raising money is hard for two reasons. One, because there are very few early stage investors and the economy is lousy. But the other reason is it takes a ton of your time and it takes your attention off what really matters, building a great business. And if you have a 5-person team, 3 of the 5 of you are going to be focused not on building a great business, not on getting customer feedback. You're going to be focused on answering a million stupid questions from a million smart investors, because investors never say no. Because maybe hiding in your business somewhere is the next Google or Facebook, and they don't want to have been the guy who said no to the next Google or Facebook. I have a personal friend of mine who was a client of mine many years ago, whose distinction in the toy industry, where he was the chief marketing officer of a mid-sized toy company, what he is most known for his 10 years in that industry, actually came from somewhere not far from Kazan. Erno Rubik, inventor of Rubik's Cube, showed up at Shopper Toy Company on his motorcycle with long hair and dirty jeans and showed the guy a Rubik's Cube, and he turned down a toy that has sold billions and billions of dollars, right? So what venture capitalist or angel investor wants to say no to you? They say, go back, do some more spreadsheets, do this, do this, do this, do that. You say, wow, they didn't say no. Let's drop everything and do all that crap. And maybe they're going to say yes next time. And next time they'll say, well, not this month. Come back in a month or two. It eats your time. So do everything you possibly can. Get staff or suppliers who will work for stock instead of cash. I had one founder of a company. The business was struggling. The gorgeous 30-year-old woman founded the company with her brother. She had made a lot of money in her 20s, and at age 30 started a company. It got in trouble. She and her brother came to us and said, we know you don't want to put any more money into this company. We had already made 14 investments in this company to try to get it right. So we would like to work for a year for no salary if you'll give us some more money. And this beautiful single girl sold her Mercedes-Benz, moved back into her childhood bedroom with the teddy bear wallpaper at 30, 31 years old in order to save her company, which just a few years later, she and her brother sold for $27 million in cash. And I didn't make a lot of money on that deal because we had paid them a lot of stock for their year without company. But I was so proud of the two of them. They got so much more out of their startup because they believed in it and voted with their hearts and their paychecks to work as hard as they possibly could. You know, and those stories don't all have storybook endings like that, I assure you. So there are 3 steps, right? First of all, there are 4 steps to the customer development process. We're really only going to talk about one of them and a little bit about, if you get step 1 right, what do you do in step 2? But generally, this is a 2 to 6 month commitment, depending on how complex your business idea is. And it happens at the same time as you're building the product. And hopefully you're building the product in a flexible, agile way, because half of your team, half of your energy is building the product. The other half is out there finding out what's wrong with it and shouting down to the developers, wait, stop, don't do that, change that, nobody wants that. And so the product is constantly responding to that feedback as you're making it stronger and stronger. And so is the marketing, and so is the pricing, and so is the definition of the customer. All of those 9 boxes of the canvas. You have Jell-O in Russia? Jell-O, the gelatin dessert, right? Yes, no? Anybody know if you have Jell-O? Yes, okay. The 9 boxes, the words are printed in Jell-O. They wiggle, they change as you learn about what works and what doesn't work only in the eyes of the customer. The very first step of that is the one entrepreneurs, by the way, when you wake that guy and tell him to go out and get some coffee, the first step has nothing to do with the product at all, okay? Entrepreneurs hate it because you're not allowed to talk about your product, right? Remember, I defined the word crap for you, right? It comes out of the back of a dog. The first step around the world is known as the Bob Dorff Give a Crap test. Does anybody give a crap about what you are about to spend 20,000 hours of your life building? Does anybody care? Is it solving a real serious problem? Is it filling a serious need? Is it a need that they are so desperate to have? Is it a need they worry about every day, every week? Or do they think about it like once a year? Because if it's not an urgent need or a serious problem that costs them money, that costs them time, that might cost them their job or their house, why are they going to buy what you're selling? None of us have enough money to buy everything we want, unless our name is Mark Zuckerberg or Steve Blank or Sergey Brin, right? Got to make the customer's top 5 or top 10 list with something that they want and they worry about it often. Otherwise, there is no market for whatever you're selling, no matter how wonderful it is.